Incentives are pervasive in every aspect of society. People are rewarded for taking certain actions and not rewarded for taking others. Workers are paid for their effort and productivity.
Thank you.
Salespeople are paid for their sales.
Thank you.
And small business owners are rewarded with profits for successful ventures. So long as these incentives are well understood by everyone, they work reasonably well. They motivate effort, performance, and social welfare. But sometimes, individuals have incentives that conflict with their professional responsibilities, often in ways that are not transparent to the public, or even in their own mind. These conflicts of interest produce serious economic and social problems.
You can get tipped at Mac, so some people would come in to Mac and they try to return things that obviously you can't return. If you returned it, then they usually would tip you more, but if you didn't return it, then they probably wouldn't tip you anything. My job is not to return stuff that's completely gone, but I do because I'd probably get $10 out of it.
Conflicts of interest are pervasive in markets and in society, and can motivate professionals to act in ways that violate their responsibilities and hurt their clients and employers. Doctors, for example, may face a conflict of interest when they are paid more for some procedures than for others.
Step right up.
Their professional responsibility is to do what is best for the patient, but their financial incentive is not always aligned with this responsibility. If an oncologist profits from selling chemotherapy agents to their patients, and some agents are more expensive than others, this conflict becomes a problem. Most doctors would never think of profiting in ways that hurt their patients, but some may, either consciously or subconsciously.
I run a magazine on campus, and I started dating one of my writers, and I'm the editor. And he started getting entertainment stories that were not as good as the other entertainment writers. And I was like, did I make that decision because he's improving in this section, or do I want to please him and make him happy on the staff as well as in our relationship?
Even professors face a conflict of interest when they're designing courses that will be evaluated by students seeking high grades and low workload. If the professor is ultimately promoted based on their popularity with students, will they consider making the course a little easier?
If every single time someone got a lower score in a class than they expected and that counted against the professor, it doesn't really add up because you're not encouraging the teaching faculty to do what they are there to do, is to challenge students and push them.
The key implication is that managers and policymakers must constantly evaluate whether professionals and employees might face incentives to act counter to their responsibility.
Oh, no.
Eliminating conflicts of interest is one of the simplest and most effective ways to reduce unethical behavior. But in order to do so, we must be willing to acknowledge that professional codes of conduct, like those followed by doctors, lawyers, accountants, and real estate agents, do not make people immune to these conflicts, and that these codes are rarely a justification for ignoring the likely outcomes that conflicts of interest create.
It's a series of choices, and sometimes the choices that you make are more important than other choices.
My clients, my customers, put myself into their shoes and to see how they would react if I'm doing certain things.
I think honesty and being straightforward about those sorts of situations is what leads to the best result.
Before you doing some actions that makes you think twice, really do think twice again, and then consult somebody who's more experienced to you. So don't make the wrong decision, otherwise you're gonna regret like forever. Really, sometimes a bad decision can make you fail in the business world.